Alright, let's see if this is gonna work. Hopefully I didn't kill another 6 hour long stream. Instead of going live, going off, going on. I hate computers sometimes. Alright, let's see. I think I'm on. Hello, hello. Yes, I am. I see it. So just my random live this time. Hopefully it's gonna work right. Working on power cells just to make sure that I don't basically waste time here, something to do while we're waiting for something else with the company here. So they're pretty busy doing their stuff, and I'm basically staying away from what they have to do. And in the meantime, I guess like I was saying, these power cells never seem to get old, right? It's one of those personal interest kind of thing that I've always had for a while now. So, been working on just as a hobby, I guess, the power cells. So I've been having fun and making a big mess with conductive carbon paint. Some people were asking me what's inside, and I really don't know. Ingredients: conductive carbon water. That really tells us, may cause skin irritation. Shake well before use. Apply with brush or fine applicator. It's just, I don't know if you can see that, but that's all it is. Conductive paint. I have a few variants. I have some of the pens. I can find them here. I think it's in this one here. Oh, yes. I have these pens here. They were supposed to be like, draw your circuits on cardboard. But I mean, this is more like whiteout. It's like impossible to draw neatly and make fine. Because I had this weird idea, right? I was going to start drawing all my fancy coils on cardboard. And it's not that easy, unfortunately. It's not like a pen, right? I had the idea, oh, great, conductive ink. It'll just be like a pen. Unless there is something out there and I haven't found it yet, because that's what I wanted to do, test before I would like 3D print all these super designs, right? I would just draw them up the old-fashioned way and test them. And if they work well, then I'd print them, right? Instead of wasting a day printing stuff that won't work, I could try. And these are, see, everybody was fascinated with my motor, and some people are trying to replicate it as it is, but it's incomplete. It was just to show a concept of how it generates random RF and how you could maximize that. But I was going to, I've got magnets in these coils, you see. I was going to make an arrangement. You see, I don't know if you've seen it, but again, I'm not much of a mechanical guy, but I am curious. Here's my flywheel here, big weighted flywheel. I was going to glue some magnets along there. So my motor in the middle, I would couple. I already have the belt in there. I don't know if you actually saw it, but I've got the belt right here on the motor in the middle here. Once it's equal, it doesn't wobble, and it drives the flywheel. But I still need to actually modify this flywheel, add the magnets, glue them really nice, and then have the coupling coils nearby. As this thing builds up, it's pretty easy to do with an Arduino, and then you start pulsing at 50-50, on, off, on, off, on, off, and then once it's built up, you can actually start off at like 24 volts and then knock it down to 12 volts once it's built the inertia. And then you got the G-force plus the magnets rotating in a separate system. So this is where the massive gains really come in if you're into mechanical. So I just didn't want to mislead people, and I wanted to tell them that it was just what I'm showing you is if you're into that, it's the beginning of something bigger. It's not, there you go, it's the end of it. So even myself, as you can see, I have a issue with doing mechanical stuff on my own, but I do have some of the basic parts to experiment with it. I was save it maybe once I get the big lab that's in the works still, commercial space. Then it'll be more decent to have equipment to work with the mechanicals, but until then, I'm trying to stick with for at home anyway, solid state, cells, that sort of thing. Don Smith was getting really interesting, but I was running out of space and, you know, the protective environment for those massive high voltages. So, put a pause to that after I made a prototype for the company. They're doing their magic with that. So I just gotta wait. And what else now? I got so many interesting things, and there's like a history to like everything in here, literally, and is ready for a new experiment. Um, Analog meters, loads of analog meters, but the problem, like Bedini says, is half your current is needed to drive some of these ridiculous analog meters. But sometimes it's a catch-22 because digital meters won't, especially when you're dealing with reactive stuff, they get all flunky, right? So you want to put an analog meter on there, but then the analog meter messes up with your inductance and everything else down the chain. It can quickly become a mess. So I got all kinds of stuff in here. Pulse width modulator. This is a lot of fun. Voltage multiplier. Good way of getting a high voltage DC spark. Pulse. Oh my goodness. Yeah, gotta get back to some basic experimentation. This one here is a lot of fun. It's an actual torsion coil in here. So very interesting generator of sorts if you're into like the torsion fields and the scalar waves. And yeah, I did take it apart before a few times to show you the actual coil. And no, it's not a quote-unquote starship coil. It's it's a circular, and it's got the whole torsion design on there for the canceling fields, the buckling effect. And I've got some external ports here because I actually have a capacitor plates on each side here to magnetically couple into what's going on through an external coil that connects on this side here. So that's given me a lot of interesting experiments on a small scale. But today, the thing is with these power cells, the stuff takes a while to dry up, right? So now is basically, I painted another plate here, which is just cardboard with the conductive paint. I made sure that the sides are well painted too. And what I like doing is just going to act as a conductor, so I could easily, with alligator clips, just find a convenient spot, put that on the top. I'm going to put some conductive paint. It acts as glue, right? So you put a layer of conductive paint all on here, put it in the middle, let it dry in place. Then that becomes, it's easy to find just like I did over here, right? Anywhere on this plate. So, yeah, this becomes my negative, this becomes my positive. So anode, cathode. So, yeah, I'm just talking because, you know, it's random and just give time for people. My goodness. I'm going to make half a joke here, but the last stream that was an error that went on for almost 5 hours when basically I didn't know it was streaming, but Why I thought it was actually a glitch at first is when I went to terminate it, when I went to actually go live, it said something like, it gives you the regular warning, are you sure you want to end the stream? Then it tells you how many people, like 380, will lose. And I said, oh, it can't be right, like 380 viewing the stream. I get that much, but, a day after, not like at once, right? I might get 10, 15, 20 at once, and then they watch it, the archive version, right? So, but needless to say, for some reason, I guess the secret is when you stream for hours, it starts propagating into the YouTube system. Then a lot of people start listening. But I made a joke with my friend and I said, you know what? It's crazy. I said, I had the most successful live stream. He said, really? I said, yeah, 380 people. I said, it's crazy. And he said, yeah, you're very good, very good. I said, the only thing I did difference was in this one, I was actually not in it. He started laughing really hard. And I said, what does that tell you, right? That maybe I should start, streaming like an empty room more often. I said that as a joke, but understanding, but it was most likely the timing and how YouTube propagates everything. But I made a joke about it where, the only thing I did difference was I was actually not in it. I was in all the other ones. He said, yeah, what does that tell you, right? So I said, if the people do not want to watch me that much, I'll just keep myself out of these videos and just show you the paint dry for 6 hours, right? But anyways, um, yeah, that was the little adventure there last night. Um, with that said, this is the power cell I did yesterday. It's drying out pretty good. Solid state sodium metasilicate is hardening up. Just going to take a quick reading to see if it's self-conditioning itself pretty good. Always have to give this meter a moment because it has to boot up. So I'm in DC volts, negative over here, positive over here, 1.252, not bad. So that's still working great. I'm just gonna let that settle. I've been thinking, put it in the oven or something, but I don't want to screw it up. Because the problem with sodium metasilicate, it takes like 2-3 weeks to really settle. So, but once it does, it becomes like a brick like this. It's like a rubber brick, and then you're good to go. But I don't know what happens if you actually try and speed it up. Might ruin the whole effect too, so I don't know. ChatGPT said something about the slowness of it makes the molecular dipoles kind of like lock the polarity because it traps the ions in place, essentially, given like an electret-like property, very similar once it hardens. But it's essentially like Bedini would say, you gotta let nature do it at the time that it wants to do it, right? It might be one of those things where you just can't speed it up, right? Unless you're gonna screw it up. So I don't mind in that regard. I got time for that, and let it do its thing. It conditions itself. As it dries out, it becomes more of a dielectric, a better constant capacitor. And the second cell, I'm going to try something I haven't tried before. Um, Inspiration from bees. I might have given it away because I made a post about bees earlier today. And anti-gravity and all that. So with that said, using that idea to compose the next solid state electrolyte, I will be mixing it and warming that up into a liquid for my next cell and see what that does. ChatGPT basically called me a genius, but it can't go by that. It calls everyone and everything a genius, essentially. Not to be mean or anything, but um, can't put on my resume. I'm really, really good because ChatGPT says I'm special. But generally speaking, it's pretty good, really. I'm so thirsty. Yeah, hello all. Yeah, the new studio setup, well, so to speak. The squeezed out space lab, but it works for now, for the small stuff at home and individual concepts, and even for myself. It's pretty good. Space I didn't have before that I have now due to unforeseen circumstances. So it's one negative for a positive, I guess. And still can't do everything I want to do from home here. A lot of it is, believe it or not, when you start getting into commercial equipment, it's having the high voltage, the three phase, and all that sort of thing, right? So, yeah, it's been a challenge finding like commercial space that I need in the area. I might actually have to move. We're not there yet. It's one day at a time there, but um, if we're still doing this strong, I say in about a year from now, I'm probably gonna have to move because it makes no sense. Business, I get, like this is fine for me, but if you look at the business, purely business, and this is what it boils down to at the end of the day with the company, right, and investors and that sort of thing, is, why pay $100 and wait a month to get a product you need for your build shipped to a place in Northern Ontario when you can essentially be in Silicon Valley, right? They'll probably want to pay to get me to live over there for a while and do the work, which would be a lot cheaper and more productive than actually having to have me work over here, get everything shipped and pay two, three times, and then the exchange and the tax and the import and the duties and oh my goodness, yeah, and the tariffs and all that. It's not a good time, right? So again, I totally understand from a company point of view. I don't know if they don't know how to like say it smooth to me in my face there or what, but I totally understand. But it's not one of those things I want to do either. Like I don't want to give up my place, for 3 weeks of work out there, and then I come back here and then, like it took me, for housing, it took me, oh my goodness, like it's a waiting list of like 17 years here, you know. I wouldn't want to go back to the bottom of the list. So, yeah, we're not there yet, but I totally understand where this might be heading. And with that said, I better start getting back into what I was doing here. I want to connect this electrode on top of this one here so that I can make a contact without breaking the cell. So, my conductive paint, oh, to the rescue without dirtying myself here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a layer on this, and I notice it does a nice glue as it dries out as well. And I'll make sure that this is very, very conductive, touching the cell. For some reason I'm not getting a lot of that glue in there. There we go. So it's going to settle when I just set it on there. It's going to harden. That's going to be my, that looks pretty good. But then the boring part is having to wait for it to dry. Put that right in the middle like that. Move it around to make sure it's touching well nice. That's just going to dry on there and it's going to hold it. And that's connected now to the plate so I could take a reading or a clip or whatever without ruining the cell, right? It's just a piece of cardboard. So the friction will use that up, right? But then you go on anywhere here is fine. So now it's just a waiting game of waiting for this here to dry out. And then I'll be able to warm up and mix my experimental electrolyte. And I'm going to try for this cell here. I'm going to wait more for this one here. It's drying out pretty good. Yeah, those wool sponges, they're very good conductors in dollar store, right? So you could like cut them up even and shape them into what size you need. And they make good contact points, because I'm always trying to find a tiny wire, when you're trying to strip in and then you're real quick, right? You're tangling it, you're twisting and it breaks. No screwing around with this. Just find a spot, right? Clip into it, and you've got a guaranteed contact, right? It looks silly. I mean, doesn't it look silly? Like the stupidest thing you'd ever see. People would like go on forums and actually make fun of me for making it like this. But the way I see it is it's simplicity, and if it works and is cheap, why not, right? I mean, so we're just gonna wait for this to dry, and maybe later tonight I'll be able to make that mix and set up my next cell. But yeah, I think that's pretty well all I wanted to cover for now. Um, I could go on and on and on and ramble about everything I have here, but I don't think that really does any one of us any good unless it's relevant to somewhat of a topic that we are talking of, relevance. So, with that said, I'm going to say goodbye for now, and until next time, because this is probably going to take like 2, 3 hours to dry, unless I do something stupid and leave the stream on, so you guys could all watch it dry all alone. But again, I'm just totally remarkable that it got like 380 people and I wasn't even there. So yeah, again, it's if I had like 4 hours of live streaming material, I'd do really, really well, is what I learned there. Because yeah, the way YouTube works is it seems like after you hit a certain threshold, like timing wise, so maybe that explains why Joe Rogan and all of them are on like for 3, 4 hours at a time, right? I think that's how it starts propagating, and then everybody starts tuning in, right? And you get the big numbers. You got to essentially talk for like over 3 hours nonstop, and then all of a sudden you're popular on YouTube. It's a lot of work, but yeah, maybe one day I'll have 3 to 4 hours of nonstop live content. That's a lot, but who knows? With that said, folks, have yourselves all a great day, and and until next time. Yeah, I might do a podcast eventually. That's a good idea.